What is going on, y'all? Welcome to the Joel Friday TV podcast. I am Joel Friday. Bienvenido. Welcome to the show. Amazing stuff. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit that like button, smack it, lay the smack down on like, subscribe, and share button. Tell your peoples about the show so we get the subscribers up and the message out. Do it now before it's too late. You still got time. Topics to be covered. What do we talk about today? Oh, we getting into it. That good Old Testament love. Lord have mercy. We getting into it, and we getting there. We going there. It's gonna get deep and messy and ugly and dramatic. Oh, we about to get into it. So tell your people about the show. It is a talk show, so you can call in at 888-775-3773, and we could talk about anything, past shows, other shows, whatever you want to talk about. We can get into it live on air, 888-775-3773. Shout out to IG. We're live on IG right now. Amazing. What's up, IG, Instagram? And a shout out to YouTube. YouTube, how's it going? Shout out to my mods. Hold it down. Amazing stuff. We are live and we got a show to get to today. 888-775-3773. Amazing stuff. I have some super chats that I want to get to as well. So, by the way, if you can't call in for whatever reason, but you still have a question or comment that you would like to talk about on the show, or just ask in general, or just support the show, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JoelFridayTV. The link is in the description, and you can send your question or comment there, or go directly to the YouTube chat here, the live chat, and hit the super chat button, and there you can send your question or comment or support the show. Appreciate your guys' support thus far. It's amazing, and good question and comments as well. I will get to those ASAP. Amazing stuff. Let's kind of get to it, because interesting stuff going on. It's not a real donut, though. That's right. It's a donation in the form of a donut. No, that's wrong. A donut in the form of a donation. You know what I mean? Chat, remind me to if I get carried away with the calls and a message or whatever, to get to these super chats. Okay? Because there was one that came in that I didn't get a chance to get to. Maybe a couple yesterday. So I do want to get to those. Remind me. Nice. So I was watching a show on YouTube, and on the show that I was watching, they were talking about the Old Testament and talk about love from the Old Testament. And it was so like such a great example of how love is viewed today. And mind you, Old Testament is the curse, right? The cursed lifestyle. And the curse was after, Adam and Eve ate the apple, God cursed all human beings up until Jesus, right? He cursed the land and he cursed the people. And during that curse is when the ego awakened, right? The evil nature within, the thoughts and the feelings, right? The knowledge of good and evil was awakened, right? And because of that, everybody was living at that time from the ego. They couldn't really truly see, right? So from that nature, all kinds of stuff was going on in the Old Testament. Lord have mercy. And one of those stories I wanted to bring to you today because it's a perfect reflection of how the world today views love. And the crazy thing is that the world today is post Jesus, after Jesus. So we shouldn't be living this way. Right? We have the new version of love, the new version of life, paradise on earth, but nobody's living that way. Well, most people aren't, right? Most people are still living in the Old Testament ways of life. And when we don't have to. And I want to explain a story that directly reflects society today. And I want to get your guys' opinion on it. Chat, Instagram, viewers at home. Let me know what you guys think, okay? So I'm gonna give you guys a couple of examples. This is a story about a week, men and women, but I'm gonna start off with the man, and I'm gonna kind of go and I'm gonna jump around the story, the different like verses of the story, because if I try to tell the whole thing, we'll just be here forever. So I'm gonna jump around, but it's still telling the same story and in the proper order. And I'm gonna show you guys an example first of a weak man living from all ego, driven by ego. So in the Bible, this is from Genesis 28. I'll start with Genesis 28. So Isaac, the father of Jacob, commanded him, do not marry a Canaanite woman. Go at once to Padan Aram, to the house of your mother's father, Bethuel. Take a wife for yourself there from among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. So basically, go to this certain town of your uncle and marry your uncle's daughter, which is your cousin. Right? Basically, he said, go marry your cousin. Which I guess maybe there was less people at this time, so cousins weren't that bad. But he basically said, go marry your cousin, right? And then he goes on to say, then Jacob continued on his journey and came to the land of eastern people. Jacob asked the shepherd, my brothers, where are you from? And they said, we're from Haran, blah, blah, blah. And Jacob said to them, do you know Laban, which is his uncle? And they say, yes. And here he comes with his daughter, Rachel, and their sheep. When Jacob saw Rachel, Lord have mercy. When Jacob saw Rachel's daughter of his uncle Laban, he went over and kissed Rachel and began to weep out loud. So imagine seeing a girl for the first time and you're just like enamored by her beauty, and you run up to her and you just kiss her and then you start crying out loud. That's what happened. According to the scripture, he began to weep out loud. He told Rachel that he was a relative of her father and a son of Rebecca. So then he told Rachel, we cousins. And then Rachel goes and tells the uncle, right? Like, hey, he's here, he's made it, and I love him. After Jacob had stayed with him a whole month, Laban said to him, just because you are a relative of mine, you should not work for me for free. How could I pay you? Right? And then Laban had two daughters. So the uncle had two daughters. And the older daughter was Leah, and the younger was Rachel. Rachel was the one that Jacob loved, right? The younger cousin. And Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, I'll work for you for 7 years, uncle, in return for your younger daughter Rachel's hand in marriage. And Laban, the uncle, said, it's better that I give her to you than some other man. Stay with me, and sure, why not? So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but it only seemed like a few days to him because his love for her. Lord have mercy. 7 years is 7 years. So, as you could tell already, he's just like all up in the feelings. He done seen this girl he ain't never met before in his whole life and ran up to her, kissed her, and started crying. And then said he was willing to work for free so he can marry the daughter. And then that it felt like a few days when it was 7 years. Lord have mercy. Then Jacob said, 7 years passed, and Jacob said, give me my wife. My time is complete, and I want to make love to her. So this is what happened. Are you guys following along? Are you guys following along? So it gets interesting. This is where it's starting to get spicy. So Leah, so when the evening came, nighttime came, the uncle took his daughter Leah, not Rachel, and brought her to Jacob. And Jacob made love to Leah, not Rachel, right? And when the morning came, there was Leah, and Jacob said, what is this that you've done to me? I served you for Rachel, didn't I? Why have you deceived me? My question is this for Jacob. You ain't know that whole night that wasn't Rachel? You didn't, her voice didn't give it away, the way she looked, the way she sound, nothing gave it away that wasn't, he lying. But anyway, Laban replied, it is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one. Then why didn't you say that from the beginning? Instead of letting him work for 7 years. Finish this daughter's bridal week. Basically, marry her first. Then we will give you the younger one also in return for another 7 years. At that point, you think that Jacob would be like, you know what? You tricked me. I waited 7 years for this woman, and you done gave me the wrong one. And then now you want to make me work for another 7 years? I'm going to go find me a new one. That's what you would think, right? No, that's not what Jacob did. Jacob said, okay. And he did it. And then Laban gave his daughter Rachel to him to be his wife. And he worked for Laban another 7 years. So now Jacob has two wives. Leah and what's the other one? And Rachel. Let me see if I I missed a part really quick. Leah, just so we know we have context, so this matters. Leah she had like the Bible describes her as like she has weak eyes, right? And whatever that means. But Rachel has a lovely figure and she's beautiful. So basically, Leah was ugly and Rachel was beautiful. All right, keep those details in mind. So Jacob worked for another 7 years, a total of 14 years. He has two wives from it, right? One he don't care about, and the other one is he's all in love with. He was willing to wait another 7 years for, right? This is where it gets crazy. This is the perfect example of where God, when the curse happened, God said women will be subject to men, right? Subject to men in the wrong way. They will be subject to men. And this is why we see these women go out of control today. So verse 31, when the Lord saw that Leah was not loved because she was unattractive to Jacob, he enabled her to conceive, because remember, they lay down together. But Rachel remained childless. Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. For she said, it was because the Lord has seen my misery. Surely my husband will love me now. Right? So she's like desperate for this man's love, subject to the man. He don't even want her. Again, she conceived. And when she gave birth to a son, she was like, now. So she conceived again. Now at last, my husband will become attached to me because I have borne him 3 sons. Oh, so there was 3 of them. And she conceived again. And when she gave birth to a son, she said, this time I will praise the Lord. Then she stopped having children. So she had 4 children at this point with Jacob. When Rachel saw this, right? When Rachel saw this, that she was not bearing any children from Jacob, she became jealous of her sister, and she said to Jacob, give me a child or I'll die. How dramatic. Give me a child or I'll die. I will run away so fast from that type of woman. Give me a child or I die. That's a crazy person. Give me a child or I die. And Jacob became angry with her and said, am I in the place of God who has kept you from having children? Basically saying like, why are you mad at me? God's the one that's in control. Why are you yelling at me? Then she said, okay, well, here's my servant. Sleep with her so that she can bear children for me and I can too build a family through her. So take my servant and you lay down with her. I don't care that we married. I don't care that you also married to my sister. I don't care you also have 4 children from my sister. Take my servant, lay down with her so I can raise a family and be in competition with my sister. What a mess. It's Old Testament. And so she gave her servant as a wife. I'm gonna speed through this. Jacob slept with her, and she became pregnant and bore another son. And Rachel said, God has vindicated me. He has listened to my plea and given me a son. Blah, 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 blah. When Leah, fast forward. I'm going to skip some of this stuff. Great struggle with my sister. And I have one. So Rachel conceived again and bore Jacob a second son with the servant, right? Not with Rachel. Rachel, for whatever reason, can't have children. And then Rachel said, I have great struggle with my sister and I have won. I beat her out, right? Then Leah saw that she had stopped having children and she took her servant and gave the servant. So Leah can't have babies, but now she gives Leah's servant to Jacob. So now Jacob can have babies with Leah's servant too. So Jacob's having baby with Leah, Leah's servant, Rachel's servant. Jacob getting it in. Jacob is getting it in. So let me see. So now Leah's servant has children, and then Leah's like, what a good fortune. That's what she says. Then the servant bears a second son, and Leah says, how happy am I? The women around me will call me happy, right? Just trying to impress all the women around her. During the harvest, I'm almost done here, guys. Bear with me. I'm almost done. During the wheat harvest, one of the sons of Leah went out into the fields and found some plants, which he brought to his mother Leah. And Rachel said to Leah, please give me some of your son's plants. Who knows what those plants were? But she said to her, wasn't it enough that you took away my husband? Will you take away my son's plants too? And Rachel said, very well. He can, my husband, Jacob, can sleep with you tonight if you give me some of your son's plants. So now he's auctioning off the husband. You can sleep with him tonight if you give me some of your son's plants. And then when Jacob came in from the field, he went out and slept with Leah. So Jacob's just like this little puppet, right? He just doing whatever they say. They say jump, he jumps. Lay with me. Not that he's mad about it, right? Because he gets to get, he's getting what, he ain't disappointed. But basically he's just doing whatever they say. But let me get to this last part. So when Jacob came to the fields that evening, he laid with Leah, and then she got the plants, and he slept with her that night. Leah conceived again. So Leah has another baby, and making it the 6th son she's had with Jacob. Then Leah said, God has presented me with a precious gift. This time my husband would treat me with honor because I have borne 6 of his sons. So he still ain't caring about Leah. He's still like, Jacob's like, I don't care about you. I already told you this. And she keeps thinking the more she has sons, Jacob's going to love her. And Jacob obviously has been proven he don't want nothing to do with her. And she keeps trying. So sometime later, she gave birth to a daughter, right? So the sons, it just stopped working. He stopped making the boys. And then God remembered Rachel, and he listened to her and enabled her to conceive. So Rachel couldn't have children, right? The one he actually loved couldn't have children. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son and said, God has taken away my disgrace. May the Lord add me another son. And later goes on and has another son. So the total of 12 children came from, or 12 sons came from Jacob. Isn't that amazing? All of this, that's all I'm going to share with you guys as far as the scriptures go on that. But all of this came from competition. All of this came from jealousy. All this came from lustful activity. All this came from anger. And that's a perfect example of what's going on that we see in society today. It's all from the ego. All of it's from the ego. I guarantee these situations, well, we know these situations happen between ladies. They fight, they're jealous of each other, they fight amongst each other, they do all these things, fight over men, all this stuff. But as far as multiple wives and all that stuff and having a bunch of kids, I guarantee that's going on in polygamous and type of relationships. They're dealing with the same thing because it's out of order. And women originally, before the fall, weren't supposed to be or even meant to be subject to the man. They're just meant to be the helper, but not subject. Because when you're subject to somebody, they become your God. And human beings are flawed, right? So when a human being who is flawed and is your God makes a mistake, you overreact. So what we're seeing in the scriptures, what we see in the world today, is that people just don't know God. They don't know God. They don't know that there's a way out. They don't know that they're living from the ego. And they live from this false version of love that came from Satan, right? It came from ego, from the curse. And they're calling that love, feelings. And then you try to tell them that it's not love, and they fight you on it. And it's because they can't see, right? But they'll fight you on it. But the crazy thing is that they're not even open to the idea that they could be wrong about it. Why? When their whole lives are miserable. They have no peace. They're depressed. They're all these things. And that's also why, and I'm going to get to some calls here, guys. 888-775-3773. You can call in and we could talk about whatever. But that's also why we also can't be feeling bad for people because they can't see. Because there's also oftentimes, people enjoy not being able to see. They enjoy the high. They enjoy the ego. Right? Like how are you closed off about anything? How's anybody ever closed off about anything? That's an insane mindset. You know what I mean? And so if they're not even ready, they're not even willing to admit that something's wrong in their life, even though they see they're depressed and not happy, that's an evil person. So you let them suffer and die. But I also explain all that story as well in case anybody is losing hope about the future of the world. Or for the future of relationships, a marriage, or children having a proper marriage, whatever. If you go on into the scripture further, which I'm not going to, I already read enough. But eventually in that story, Jacob's sons, the 12 sons, become the 12 tribes of Israel, right? So through all the chaos and mess, this is why God is always still involved in control. God blessed the situation to where he made all the sons children of Israel, right? And later on, like, it's like it gets a little bit better more in the scripture. But through all of that, all of the mess, his hand is still involved in life. So when all this stuff is happening in our lives or just in the world, we can just trust that God is going to work it out or has a plan for it. Even though it's a mess, even though our lives can seem like a mess as well, God is still working on it. So we don't have to feel guilty or feel like regret or missed out on nothing. No, there's still a plan set forth that we just may not be able to see. But anyway, let me get to some calls. False love. from the Old Testament. Love is not a feeling. It is not a feeling. And if you think that, then you better pray. Love is not a feeling. And if you think it is and you start trying to live from it, you're gonna end up like Jacob in these women, all jacked up, crazy, doing crazy things. Because feelings have no ground; they're not grounded in anything. They take you all over the place. So you don't want to follow a feeling. The feeling's like the wind. You want to stay grounded. And love, the true love is light, the light of God, which has no feeling, but it guides you in all things and guides you of how to properly love and when to love. And love, to me, in my opinion, simply is just doing the right thing. And God will show you what that right thing is in every given moment. That's love. No attachment. Love has no attachment. You could take it or leave it. So that way you could put your foot down when you need to put your foot down, or leave the person when you need to leave the person without this false attachment to them and you not wanting to lose it. You know what I mean? That's love. But most people don't even want to accept that, which is crazy, but they can't see. Anyway, let's get to some calls. Let me go to Drew. Drew out of the United States. He wants to talk about the story. How's it going, Drew? Welcome to the show.
How's it going, Joel? How are you?
All is well.
Very cool, yeah. So thanks for sharing that Bible story.
Right on.
I think your narration of it was it was pretty funny.
Right on.
But there's so much in that story, and I would just like to add a little more context to it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, feel free.
Yeah, so remember when you said that Rachel couldn't bear children?
Yeah.
And she went and got her maidservant?
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened with Abraham and Sarah.
Yep.
And so what happens in the Old Testament is God provides these patterns and examples so that you know he's the one who's ultimately working his will through things, even though on the ground everything is chaotic. And what happened to Jacob when he, got bamboozled by Laban, and I mean, like, listen to his story. If you read it, it's like, how in the world can you work 7 years for a woman,
right?
And then on the day of your marriage and your wedding, it's the wrong woman.
And how you not know? That's another thing too. How you not recognize it?
I mean, really, like, you must have been. I mean, there must have been Hennessy back then, Rock. but the reason why I bring that up is because Jacob, like, he kind of was in a position where he did something and righteousness was going to come back on him.
Yeah.
So when he got kicked out of the house by his dad and his mom for what he did with his brother, it's because he stole the birthright and did all this stuff. So what Laban did to him was basically the same thing that he did to Esau. And the beautiful thing in that story is God's love always shines through in some way, because, if you were to continue, Jacob leaves and Laban comes and pursues him.
Yeah.
And he says, the only reason why I didn't do anything to you is because, like, God visited me in a dream and said, we need to make peace between us, and so let's have peace.
Yeah.
And then Esau was supposed to kill him. Like, he said, I'm going to kill Jacob. He made it his whole purpose. But God had enriched Esau in such a way that by the time he saw Jacob, his younger brother, again, he was like, listen, man, like, what happened between us is in the past. The most important thing to me is that I have my brother. And so any fear that you have of what I might do to you, let's put that aside.
Yeah.
Let's reconcile. And it's very beautiful because, at the end of Genesis, when Joseph goes through what he goes through and he's about to die, what he says to his brothers is, what you guys meant for evil, God meant for good.
Exactly.
And I think Yeah, I think if like one of the things that you hear at Bond so much is like, you know, not only stay with it, but also like don't overreact to the things that are happening around you. And I think that ethic has to be central and is central to the Christian life, where
Yeah.
hell is around you, but if you think that, and well, not you think, but you know that God is working everything out for the best, then you'll never overreact.
Man, that's such a good point that you're making about not overreacting, because that's that's the very example and definition of what the knowledge of good and evil was in the beginning, was that it made you have these feelings and judgments about good and evil, what you perceived as good and evil, and it made you overreact. And the James Hake said on the show today, he said something like, if you don't have an opinion, like you don't judge it too much, then you recognize you can maybe learn from the situation or learn from certain things, whether you may deem it as good or bad. So I think if we learn to recognize that when we're feeling anything about what's going on in the world or anything in our life, if we're feeling anything about it, we're not operating from true insight, because true insight, whether it's good or evil, doesn't have any feelings about it or doesn't overreact to anything. We just trust that God's in control and God's working it out. And we just let life be what it is and view evil, see evil, or see good, but not judge it or look down upon it or give praise to it, if that makes sense. Just
No, I
let it
understand
be.
exactly what you mean. Yeah, I understand exactly what you mean. It's so interesting because like the Bible calls us to judge righteously, and people take that upon themselves to, you know what I mean, like almost be like the judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily what Jesus is calling us to do. What he's
Yeah.
calling us to do is like be the person who sees the wrongdoing and rectifies the situation, so that whoever's stuck in the darkness can have some kind of
Right.
reconciliation or
Right.
some route and avenue back to the light.
Right.
But if we want to be judged during execution, then imagine the people in the darkness. All they're seeing is like devils around them who are like, "Oh, you got to go to hell. You're gonna go to hell." You know,
Right.
as opposed to seeing somebody who says, "Listen, I was once in your position where I was in the dark. I didn't know the truth, but Jesus set me free, and I'm here to do the same for you."
Right on, 100%. And that sounds good and everything. That's like the perfect way to go out. But it also has to really, you really have to see that. You really have to mean that, and you can't
Hundred
even,
percent.
you know what I mean? Like, and it can't even be
Yep.
like that's what Jesus wants me to be. No, it's not about
Right.
that. It's about you becoming that, and you
Exactly.
knowing and not overreacting to those situations. But
And
100%,
you
Drew.
want,
Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
I was gonna say, you want to know what's a trip about that too?
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll be that person and you won't even know it.
What do you mean?
Like, I've had people in my life come to me and say, "You know when you did this thing?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I didn't think anything of it. They're like,
Yeah.
"You don't know how much that meant to me." I was like, "What?
Yeah,
What are you talking about?"
that's so
They're like,
true.
"No, you don't understand." And then they'll start telling me all these different. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying. But all right, y'all, I don't want to take too much time.
A
Great
hundred.
story. Continue it. Keep it going.
I appreciate you. Call me again. Great input on that.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Man, he's right though about the when the family members. Sometimes you can be right and not even know it, and you know why? It's because doing right and being right has no feeling. So when you do right and be right, naturally there's no like feeling to make you feel like you want to do a victory chant based off of what you did. No, it's not like that. It's that things change with silence. You know what I mean? And that way you can't boast about it, or you know what I mean, or get arrogant about it, because there's no feeling attached to it. So he's 100% right about that. Amazing call, Drew. Thanks for calling. Uh I am gonna get to some super chats. As a matter of fact, let me just check really quick here. Hold on, callers, 1 second. Let me get to these super chats. At least a few of them here. Sion said, Sion with a few donuts. I believe this was from yesterday, or maybe yesterday. You, Hassan, Yeezy, referring to Kanye West, I believe, and Sandman do a collab with Jesse featuring in it. Great idea. She puts a laughing emoji. Great idea. Make a dope track. That would be good. Thank you, Sion. I appreciate it. Not a bad idea. You never know. You never know. We literally have a studio full of musicians. Hassan, Nick plays instruments as well. I know you guys may not know, but Nick plays instruments as well. And Sean has been in the entertainment industry for a long time too, or like plays and productions and all that stuff, entertainment. And I've done the dancing thing, so you never know what the future can hold. Carver with the donut says, "This is just a test to see if C-Sal successfully reminded you to get to the super chats." She might have. I just haven't been watching the chat. But thank you, Carver, for the donut. But the Lord, the Holy Spirit within, reminded me. But I haven't checked the chat out to see. So, oh shoot, Chris said I'm doxing the whole crew. You might be right, Chris. Sorry. Maybe Sean and I think Sean mentioned it on the show though before, and maybe Nick didn't want people to know how talented he is. Sorry, Nick. What do we have here? Let me get back to the calls. There are some lines open, and we got some time here on the clock. So if you want to talk and have enough time to talk, call in. Call in now. 888-775-3773. 888-775-3773. Let me go to Rick out of Hampton, Virginia. Hey, Rick, welcome to the show.
Man, my man Joel, what's going on, brother?
All is well. How are you, Rick?
I'm fine, and you?
All is well.
Yeah, man. I was a comment on the topic you're talking about, true love.
Nice.
You know, with Jacob, like he worked for he had to work 14 years for Leah.
Yeah.
Man, that would have made any man mad, man. You working on them years, man, and it took you 14 years before you finally got the real deal,
Right.
That's true love, though,
You think so?
I said, just like what you said, true love is doing what's right. It's action.
Okay.
And, when you love somebody, man, you show it by your conduct. You're patient with them.
Yeah.
You wish the best for them, don't try and control them. So love is the way I look at love is to treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah. I agree. What do you think, real quick, about the part where Jacob saw Rachel, and when he saw Rachel, he was like enamored by her and ran up to her and kissed her and started crying. What do you think? What do you think about that?
No, you know what? I wouldn't know why Jacob would cry because he kissed Rachel. Hey, maybe she was so beautiful to behold that she was so beautiful, brought tears to his eyes.
Do you think it's possible that people can fall in love in that way, like the proper love of like on first sight and just be so stuck with it, or do you think that's ego? What do you think?
Ooh, you know what? I truly believe people can fall in love, true love, but people are so traumatized now on Joel. Most times, if they can if they can regain conscious, and get out that fallen state. I think people could love the right way, but most people, when people are in trauma, they're looking for somebody to fulfill a need. They looking for, and then they gonna meet somebody else that got more trauma. They get to meet, and he's trying to meet the same thing. They bumping heads, you know.
Right.
So can it be done? Yeah, if people get out there fallen state and pursue God, and I think true love can be there. But it seems like people want to control you, and you can't hardly control yourself.
And like when you say, like, and maybe you haven't thought it through or not, but like, what would you think about that? Seeing a person like in person for the first time, what would you say would be like what will reveal to that person that this is love? What would be like an example of that, if that makes sense? Like, how would they know? How would a person know, in Rick's opinion, when they first see them, that that's the real deal?
How would the other person know?
Yeah, how would the person know? Like, so say if I see somebody and I think that she's like the one, right? The one I want to marry. What do you think would give? What do you think is one of the proper ways to know that that's true? Like, what would, if that makes sense?
Wow, you know what? Right off the back, just that one time, my opinion, Joel, I don't think there's no way of telling you. Only time can truly tell.
Right.
Because you got to see what kind of fruit she's bearing. Like I said, you don't know if she's traumatized. And, to me, I can't see how you can tell someone right there. I can say, hey, look, I'm attracted to you.
Right.
But to say if that's the one, that's going to take a little data collecting.
Right.
If you would.
To kind of try to see. I wonder, and it's not to say that it can never happen, right? Because I'm not God. But I do agree. I feel like sometimes also people put their best foot forward when they're attracted to each other and they're not really giving the real deal.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think it does take a little time to discover. But do you think that love itself can ever be like display itself as a feeling ever, or no?
Well, you know what? Love don't we portray it as a feeling, because like I feel like I love him. Is it lust behind it? But God give us a definition of true love.
Yeah.
And most times we redefine love, if you would.
Yeah. That's true. To fit our needs.
Controlling somebody.
Yeah.
Why do everybody want to control somebody? You ever noticed that? Everybody want to control somebody.
Yeah.
It's just, let somebody be. My daughter asked me the other day. She said, "Why couldn't God? Why don't God just run everything? Why don't He just destroy us all if we keep acting up?" I said, "Well, that's God's true love. That's love."
Yeah.
God knows that we up here cutting up, but He still rather have our true love, that we come by and obey His commands. But can God do that? Yes. But then again, God might as well just run the world Himself. If He does that, He just wants us to come back and love God because what He done for us.
I agree, Rick. I know you had mentioned. I don't know if you had a different topic that you wanted to start with in mind.
Oh yeah, just a quick current event. They had like a 600 at Six Flags of Georgia. It opened opening day, and man, they was cutting up out there. Police officers shot, and they ain't, the media don't want to say it, but they black. Most of them are black. And the media's keeping it down. There's so many kids out there. Definitely shot one, and I can just about guarantee you I don't know what's going on in Atlanta, man. Atlanta, them people are losing their minds down there.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's out of control. And I think that park had just opened, right? The Six Flags.
Yeah, it was opening day.
Yeah. So the news report didn't report that he was black?
No, they didn't.
They
didn't say who the deputy shot, but I know Fulton County area, mostly black. He black.
Yeah.
Most, probably
What
a
a
few whites
mess.
still going to the park, but I know that area. It's mostly black.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm beginning to think, Joel, it's on that same spiritual note you're talking about. I truly believe not all, but most blacks are cursed, man.
Man, definitely living from the fallen nature for sure. Definitely living from the
Yeah, I mean,
fallen nature. 100%.
we are last in everything on Joel. We are last. We got the most single parenting,
Yeah.
finances. We last.
Yeah.
Health wise, we last.
Yeah.
No one desires to date black women. They are last on the list to be
That's
dated.
true.
I mean, it's like I truly think most of us are cursed until we wake up and overcome our anger.
And overcome the anger, and no adult after 18 has an excuse on or is a victim on blaming anybody, because you have an opportunity to overcome and get on the right track and find your way. There's anybody, not one black person on the earth can point to anybody and blame them for slavery, racism, none of that, because
You know,
everybody has
I
the
definitely agree
opportunity to
with you.
overcome. Yeah.
You said a mouthful, Joel. You didn't choke, my brother. I totally agree with that. But you've noticed that when it comes to the black community, the Democratic Party, the liberals, white, black, all liberals, urban radio, black organizations like the Urban League and NAACP, they all want to keep a stronghold on the black community because, for the most part, blacks keep liberal politicians in power.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah.
They keep them in power. So that's why, if any group, they tend to keep, constantly reminding black people of anger, taking advantage of the anger and stuff, but they can control them.
Yeah. And they know exactly what to say and what to do.
Yeah.
And they can do it. Yes, it's unfortunate, it's crazy, but I always, whenever I see how crazy things get, I always remember that sometimes you let people hang themselves with their own rope, and not always tell them no. Let them hang themselves with their own rope, and then they'll end up hitting their head hard enough, hopefully, that they wake up and see. And some don't, and then we have to be okay with that as well. But it's out of control, that's for sure. The curse is up.
Yeah. What you think? What's your opinion on that, Joel?
On what?
Do you think most blacks are cursed, or what's your take on that?
To me, I just think that it's the same as everybody. Like, now obviously blacks tend to drink the Kool-Aid more, meaning like they tend to fall for the lie a lot more. But
Right.
everybody is in the fallen state and the fallen nature until they truly overcome and truly can see. So I think blacks tend to falling more into that curse, but there's a way out. Just like everybody has a way out. But the thing is that in all cultures, I was just talking about, I don't know who I was talking this about, but in all cultures and in all races, at one point were bad and at one point were cursed. White people have at one point in time, they were doing crazy things and they were the curse. And then Indians
Yep.
and this, because what it really is that it's the spirit. It's whatever spirit was roaming around at that time and
Right.
possessing people to behave a certain way. And no matter where we look, we're always gonna get you're always gonna find an angry person who believes into the things of the ego and lives by the ego. But right now, in this time that we live in, or maybe the past 100 years, maybe blacks have been the ones that really have like fallen for the lie. So yeah, I think the curse is gonna be there to the end of time, but not everybody's gonna take the way out, the narrow road.
Wow. Wow. Interesting, there, brother Joel. Very interesting topic, man. It's just, it's like I think people need to redefine what true love is.
Yeah.
Good topic. I
Yeah.
totally agree with that, man. Because it seems like that's why the divorce rates are so high. Most people don't I think people are divorced within the first 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't even have a reason. Talk about no fault divorce.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, it's especially divorce. Divorce is out of control. But
Yeah.
I'm looking at time here, Rick, and I don't want to rush you off, but I got to end soon. Is there any last words that you want to
Well, last word, man, let brotherly love continue, man, and let us love people by deed. You know, deed instead of no lip singing.
Right.
You know. Oh, and also I like y'all song with Jesse. Jesse had a song yesterday on The Wall Was Going On. He had a smooth beat to it, so I figured you guys made the beat, man. It was a nice beat. The Wall Was Going On, but just have some shades.
Yeah, I forgot.
That was hilarious, man.
I don't remember who made that, but yeah, that's a good one. But I appreciate it, Rick. Thank you for calling me. Thanks
Love you, Joel. I'll see you tomorrow, Lord. Say the same, man.
All right, you as well. Appreciate it. Man, I'm out of time. So out of time. Let me see. Closing remarks. I'm telling you, we got to start being. I know I say it a lot, and maybe I say it too much, but I'm gonna keep saying it. Is that all we have to do is just be honest with ourselves. Look at ourselves, get to know ourselves, and be honest, and God will lead the rest. God will show you that you resent whoever you resent. God will tell you that you need to forgive. God will tell you all these things. But we need to be honest. And so we can get right. And we can stop falling for the lie. Because Satan imitated everything that is of God and gave an easier, quicker, false version, imitation of all the real things, love, blah, blah, blah. And he made it easier for you to get to it so you can use this and think it's love, but it's pure hate and destruction. And you want to be able to be aware of yourself and recognize it. Or you're pure evil. Even if you think you mean well, you have wickedness living from you and operating out of you. And we got to start being honest about it. So get to know yourself so we can overcome evil and blah, blah, blah. I got to end. American Anchor Baby's coming in for an amazing show. You don't want to miss them. I'm back here tomorrow for another episode. Thank you, Chad, for tuning in. Calls were amazing. Thank you guys for the input. Super chats, all that stuff. I think I got to everything. I think I do have a clip eventually I want to show you about this one lady. Lord have mercy. She's going crazy. But anyway, gotta go, you guys. Let me do this. Oh, and Instagram. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it. And catch me Monday through Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays, for the most part, on Instagram. So come watch the show. Join the chat. We got a whole family over here in the chat on YouTube, Instagram. Come join us. Amazing stuff. Gotta go, y'all. Bye.